Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Elise. We are going to be doing my second book haul revisit video. I did my July one pretty recently, and that one was very big. This one is smaller. So we're going to be looking at the books that I bought last August 2022, and seeing which ones I've read, which ones I have not read. And then at the end of it all, for all of the books that I have not read so far, I will pick one to put on my TBR for the month of September. Can't believe it's gonna be September next month. Woo doggy. So let's go ahead and get into the books and hope that I have read these. So first up, we have a quick and easy guide to sex and disability. This is by A. Andrews, and it's a very slim nonfiction book that is exactly what the title would suggest. And I really liked this. I gave it 5 stars. I think it totally delivers on what it says it is. It's a graphic nonfiction. It's full color. I think the art is great. And yeah, it's a quick and easy guide to sex and disability. I think this is such a good introduction for people who haven't thought about the intersection of sex and disability, and I think everyone should get their hands on it and read it. It takes no time at all because it's so quick, and it's in a graphic form, so there's not a ton of words to bog you down. So definitely recommend, and really enjoyed this. So first one, check, go me. Second one, we have actually a couple of books that I picked up while I was traveling. Last year was the year of traveling for me. I felt like this was always coming up in my videos. I was traveling out of the state or out of the country every month for a very long period of time. And these two, I think I picked up in LA. So the first one is Sisters. This is by Daisy Johnson, and it's published by Riverhead Books. I have not read this yet. And this one is supposed to be dark, about sisters that are maybe like too close. And it still is very intriguing to me, and I definitely want to read it. So let's look at the blurb just a smidge. So this says, something unspeakable has happened to sisters July and September. They're desperate for a fresh start. Their mom ends up moving across the country into this house that has lots of strange noises going on. It has lights flickering of their own accord. They can't sleep, and their dreams are endless. The sisters start to realize that the bond that they have always had is starting to crumble, and I think bad things start happening in quick succession. So yeah, I've heard great things about this. I think it's supposed to be pretty dark, and definitely still interested in it. This could be a potential option to go on my TBR for the next month, so we shall see. Next up we have from that same trip is Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. This was all over when it first came out. I have the paperback edition, and this is by Avid Reader Press. And if I remember correctly, this one is about a family that immigrates from Colombia to the US. And then I also think it tells the story of two parents. There's also a perspective from their daughter, but the two parents' perspective shows a flashback of how they fell in love with one another. And I think the daughter's perspective gets much more into the immigration process, the thoughts that go through your mind when you're thinking about whether or not you're going to try and emigrate, those types of things. So yeah, I still definitely want to get to this as well. And I've heard it's great. It's Reese's book club pick if that matters to you. That is Infinite Country. Next up, we have one that I still have not read as well, and that is The Swimmers by Juliet Otsuka. This is published by Knopf, and this follows a group of elderly narrators who all swim at a local pool, and the pool gets a crack in the bottom, and that sort of starts concerning people. Then there's also a perspective about a mom and a daughter where the mom is starting to go through Alzheimer's, or is it dementia? I can't quite remember. And she goes to take care of her, even though their relationship is pretty strained. So I think it's kind of mirroring their relationship dynamic and then the dynamic between the community and the pool. Heard this one is super sad, and that's a little bit of why I've been avoiding it for so long, but I definitely want to still get to this one as well. This is another one that is probably in strong contention for me to read. I have read Juliet Otsuka before. I have read When the Emperor Was Divine. Is that what it's called? I think it is. And I've actually read that book twice. Both were very long times ago. The first time I read it, I was in high school, and I just went to the library at the school and like picked out a random book that I thought sounded good, and I picked that out and read it, and then reread it a few years later. And that's a little bit of why I picked this up as well, because I remember very much liking her writing style. And so yeah, that's Juliet Otsuka, The Swimmers. Definitely one that I want to get to. The next book that we have is one that I have read, thank God. So that is Welcome to Midland. This is a poetry collection that was gifted to me by my friend Kat. So thank you, Kat. And we both read this last year. It is a nonfiction poetry collection by Logan, and it is about their experience living in Texas, in Midland, Texas to be exact, growing up being queer and trying to reckon with some of the traumatic experiences they had during their adolescence. It does a great job of depicting sort of like the Texas landscape. Yeah, it's pretty intense to read. Some of the poems do contain traumatic content, so look at the trigger warnings before going into this, but I thought it was great. It was one of my favorite poetry collections I read last year. I think it's a great introductory poetry collection. So happy that this was gifted to me by my friend Kat, who currently lives in Texas. So yeah, it was a great pick to send. So that is Welcome to Midland. Next book that I picked up, I think I picked up in Portland. I can't quite remember. I can't remember, but this is from Two Lines Press, and it is At the Edge of the Woods by Masatsugu Ono, and it's translated from the Japanese by Juliet Carpenter. Let me just make sure that's actually right, so I don't give you false information. Yes, this one I remember picking up because we were about to go into spooky season in October, and October is like the month where I read seasonal content. I do it a little bit in December as well, but October is the month where I'm like, my whole TBR is going to be seasonal. And I think this fit the bill and was also translated. I always am on the lookout for translated literature that will work in October, since I tend not to have as much of it. And yeah, this one I picked up because it follows boy and his father who are living in a house at the edge of the woods, and strange things start appearing at their home. And I think it's supposed to be very surreal and eerie. I think it's magical realism. And yeah, it sounds very creepy. So I have plans to get to this later in the year. So this will not be one that I'm picking at the end of this video to be on my TBR for September, but I will be reading this at some point soon. So that is At the Edge of the Woods. I also love this cover. So that is that one. I have not been doing good so far on the read versus unread. So we're just calling that out. Next up, we have Fieldwork and Ukrainian Sex, and this is by Oksana Zabuchko, and it's translated from the Ukrainian by Helena Hearn. And this one was the Women in Translation Readathon pick last year. I did not read it. This one I didn't end up getting to in my Women in Translation blog that I did. Partly why is the writing style seems to be stream of consciousness-esque, not totally, but it has like walls of text. It's just walls of text going on, and I find that intimidating. I was really trying to find it as an audiobook through my library, but it just does not exist in my library, so I am going to have to read it physically. I do still want to read this, but it is still intimidating to me. So if you have read this and you think I should just pick it up, I mean, it's not that long, then tell me. Give me the motivation to pick this up, because I definitely still want to do it. And she is a very well-known author in the Ukraine, so I should get to it. I should expand my horizons a little bit. So that is Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex. I do really like that cover. So yeah, there's that book. Next one we have, yay, another one that I have read, and it is Boulder by Eva Baltasar. Translated from Spanish by Juliet Sanchez, I believe, and it's published by And Other Stories. This is very popular because it was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize this year in 2023. It's very slim and I really enjoyed this. It follows the perspective of a woman nicknamed Boulder by her partner, who is very indifferent around motherhood, and her partner increasingly wants to get pregnant, and the dynamic between the two of them is not one that is set up for open communication, let's say, and they end up having a baby. It's sort of about the aftermath of that. Lots of people have talked about this, so I can leave it at that. I thought it was really well done. I think the narrative voice choices that are getting made are really interesting. I totally get why it was an International Booker Prize pick. It's very clever and very thought-provoking. It's a very thinky book, and I really enjoyed it. So that is Boulder. I also have Permafrost, which I will be talking about very soon, I think, on the channel. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes, because I did love Boulder. And the last book that we have in this book haul revisit is yet another that I have not read, and that is The Performance. This is by Claudia Petrucci, and it's translated from the Italian by Milano Appel, and it is published by One World Editions. I still really want to get to this as well. I honestly don't know why I haven't picked this up yet. This is following sort of a love triangle. The book centers around this female character. She's very enigmatic. She was an actress, and she has sort of had a fall from grace. And one day she bumps into her old theater director, and that sort of sparks some reinterest in getting back into the field. And her partner and the theater director come up with this plan that if they can write the script for her perfect life and get her to act it out, that she will rebound and become a star once more. They are both very much in love with her and are trying to seduce her in their own way at the same time. So that's the love triangle element. And I think this just sounds so rompy and fun, and I definitely want to get to it. So yeah, that is The Performance. And I think I just picked this up because of the blurb. I had never heard of it before, and I was at the bookstore, read the blurb, and was like, it's mine. It's coming home with me. So that is The Performance. And now we have the difficult task of picking the one I'm going to put on my TBR for the month of September. There were 9 books total. I have only read 3 of the 9, so that means there are 6 books to choose from. Here they are. So, okay. Well, I know I'm not going to read At the Edge of the Woods because I have plans for that a little bit later. This I'm still intimidated by. I'm not ready. So we're not going to do that. I'm also going to take out Infinite Country. I'm not going to do that one yet. I'm trying to think of my reading plans for September and what might work. No, none of them really are going to work, but these are the 3 I'm between right now. Oof. Okay. Oh man. You know what? I think this is going to be very different from the rest of the stuff that I am reading in the month of September. So I'm gonna go for this one, The Swimmers by Juliet Otsuka. I've loved her writing in the past. It's slim. I know it will be very sad, but I think after the Nightingale, I think I'm in the place for it to read something very sad. The waterworks have been opened, so I think that's okay. So we're going with The Swimmers. You will see this on my September TBR. Please let me know what you thought of any of the books that I've mentioned here today, especially the ones that I have not read yet. Try and convince me to read them, please, or just give me motivation to read them, because I need it. I want to make sure I have all of these, hopefully, but most more realistically read by the next year that I have to do this. So I will see you all in the next one. Bye.